As many families continue to recover from the impacts of the government shutdown, many may still be using a lot of canned items, non-perishable items from food shelters and pantries in our community, especially as we're heading into Thanksgiving next week. So how can you elevate those, spice them up a little bit for your family if those items are still what you are relying on for the most part? I'm joined once again by Blue Cross Blue Shield registered dietitian Shanti Appello. Shanti, thank you so much for joining us once more. For families who are in this boat, which we know is many families here in our community, including in Michigan, what can they be thinking about right now if maybe things are getting a little, a little boring or a little kind of mundane?
Yeah, I've got three recipes here in front of me. We can start with breakfast. If you haven't had shakshuka before, it's great for breakfast, but it's good for a little brunch too. And it's centered around canned tomatoes in this recipe. I've used green bell peppers. Those are going to be the less expensive of the bell peppers. We've got onions, some cumin, lots of spicy stuff going on in here. You can skip that if you want. But I've got that simmering, and so I'll create a couple of slots, and this is where it makes the recipe a little bit unique. Now, shakshuka means all mixed up in Arabic. This is a North African dish, and just cracking a couple eggs in here. Now, these eggs are going to sit in this mixture, and they're going to kind of steam. I'm going to put the lid on, and they get really beautifully poached. And so when it
Mmm.
is all done, top it with some parsley if you have it on hand, but this is served with pita, some crusty bread, whatever you have on hand.
I love that. That looks delicious and great for breakfast or even, other meals too. I feel like you can have eggs any time of day, especially with all those great vegetables. What else you got for us?
Yeah, and one more thing about this recipe is that whenever you're using canned tomatoes, it actually elevates the beta carotene in the recipe, makes it more
Mmm.
bioavailable. So love to use that. The next one I have quesadilla, can't go wrong there. We're using both corn from the can and black beans. Season them up with some smoked paprika, so it's getting some unique flavor. But you can use whatever pantry staples you have, pantry spices. I think the cheapest ingredients are always the ones that you have on hand, right? And so we're just going to cut that up, serve it with some pico de gallo, and you've got some plant-based protein from the black beans. The corns adds a little bit of vegetables, and this is really fiber rich, so it's going to keep you fuller for longer.
Absolutely. That looks delicious. Again, could be any part of the day that you're looking to serve a meal. You could even add some eggs in there and make that more of a breakfast quesadilla, I'm sure. So lots of great options. And I love how you're highlighting kind of the nutritious value. Just because you're working with non-perishable items or, canned items, things like that, you're still getting a ton of nutritional value, which is great and key for families.
Exactly. And we love the plant-based proteins, beans, lentils. I've got chickpeas in the next one. Not only are they kind of more affordable, but they're also great for health. We see that the more people eat plant-based proteins, there's a link to a reduced risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes. All in all, really great. So I'll go into these canned chickpeas. Now, I've just thrown them into a skillet. When it comes to oil, olive oil is great, but there's nothing wrong with using seed oil. So think your vegetable oil, canola oil. There's all kinds of misinformation out there about them, but they're great to use. Less expensive than olive oil. Gonna throw in some spices, some onion, garlic powder, paprika. Get these all nice and fragrant. And I like to throw in just a little bit of sugar in these because it gets them nice and caramelized. You don't need a lot, and it also sweetens it up. And then when you're done, if you have it on hand, throw on some parsley on top and a little bit of lemon juice, and this is perfect. These are just skillet chickpeas that you can throw on top of anything. You can throw it on top of a salad, put it on top of hummus, put it on top of a grain bowl. They're so versatile and just so healthy.
They all look delicious. And so, as you were saying, so many different options that you can use these for. And Shanti, I'm sure too, if folks don't have exactly the items that you just walked us through, there's a lot of sort of interchangeability with these recipes as well.
Right. And, as I mentioned, the cheapest ingredient you have are always what's in your fridge. So I encourage you to challenge yourself to maybe have a fridge charcuterie night. Charcuterie sounds so fancy, but what this means is really you throw together ingredients that maybe don't traditionally go together. Maybe you have some extra beans that you can do this with. Maybe you have some vegetables that you can cut up or roast, and you just combine everything that you have in your fridge to make something a little bit more exciting.
I love that. And I haven't called it that in the past, but I often engage in fridge charcuterie. So that's going to be a new phrase I'm going to use. Awesome. Shanti, any other tips for folks to take home? We know this is a situation that many families continue to be in, relying on those staples, those non-perishables. Any other just tips before I let you go?
Yeah, sure. We have lots of these recipes on a healthiermichigan.org. And I think when it comes down to it, uh, don't sweat it too much. There's so many interchangeable ingredients here and lots of swaps. So if you don't have any of these on hand, any spices will do. Get creative, and I think there's lots of bioavailability of nutrients in these canned goods. Sometimes they get a bad rap, but they really do have so much to offer.
Absolutely. All right, Shanti, thank you so much for joining us once again. We appreciate your time walking us through those recipes, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back,